I returned 10 years into the past pregnant with my husband's child. Adrian Lawson's eyes were bloodshot, his breathing rough and unsteady. Empty suppressant vials lay scattered across the floor. "Evan Lawson," he said, locking the door behind me. "You walked in here on your own. Don't expect me to let you leave so easily." The scent of cold cedar exploded through the room. Before I could retreat, he tore the suppressant patch from the back of my neck. My omega pheromones, once bitter orange, now softened into something sweet and ripe, spread into the air. His expression changed the instant he saw the fading bite mark on my gland. "Who marked you?" he asked through clenched teeth. "Tell me his name. I'll kill him." I covered my neck and stared at him in disbelief. "Kill whom?" "Himself. There has only ever been one person," I muttered. "You." His eyes darkened. He lowered his head, his sharp canine teeth pressing over the old mark. "Wait," I cried, lifting my shirt to reveal the slight curve of my lower belly. "You can't go any further. I'm pregnant." His hand froze around my waist. I took his palm and placed it against the small swell. "This is your child." For a long moment, Adrian Lawson said nothing. Then, in a voice so calm it was almost frightening, he asked, "You expect me to believe that you came back from the future carrying my baby?" I swallowed. That was exactly what had happened. Chapter 1. The Fake Young Master. I was a fake young master, beautiful, spoiled, and, if I was being honest, not especially bright. In my previous life, I fought the real heir of the Lawson family for the inheritance and lost completely. Afterward, I somehow became his hidden canary. Adrian Lawson kept me in luxury, indulged every bad habit I had, and spoiled me for more than 10 years. Then one morning, I woke up more than a decade in the past at the exact moment when he hated me most. At that time, the real young master had only recently returned to the Lawson family. My adoptive parents told me generously that they would still treat me as their biological son. They asked me not to distance myself from them simply because Adrian Lawson had appeared. But I could not stop myself from being jealous. Adrian Lawson was an SS rank alpha. He was intelligent, tall, powerful, and devastatingly handsome. Everything about him was exceptional. I, on the other hand, was a low-rank omega. Apart from my face, I had very little worth praising. My head was practically empty, so I relied on my parents' affection and secretly made Adrian Lawson's life difficult. That day, I had gone too far. He was kneeling in front of me, a bright handprint still visible across his cheek. His head was lowered as he tied my shoelaces. When he finished, he looked up with humiliation and hatred burning in his eyes. "Are you satisfied now?" he asked. "Can I leave?" My mind went blank. Without thinking, I said, "Husband, massage my feet too. They hurt." Silence filled the room. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. I had been spoiled by the Adrian Lawson from more than 10 years in the future. I had forgotten that the young Adrian Lawson in front of me hated me to the bone. His expression turned cold. "What game are you playing now?" His fingers tightened around my ankle. He used too much strength, and I cried out, "Husband, you're hurting me. I'm sleeping separately from you tonight." The second sentence slipped out just as naturally as the first. I wanted to disappear. I had grown used to ordering him around, especially after becoming pregnant. In the future, whatever I said was law. Adrian Lawson obeyed me in everything. Instinctively, I placed a hand over my stomach. Then I froze. My lower belly should have been flat at this age. Instead, it was slightly swollen. I had not returned alone. I had brought our unborn child back with me. Adrian Lawson gave a quiet, humorless laugh. "Evan Lawson, who do you think I am?" His gaze fell to my stomach. "Did some stray dog outside get you pregnant? Aren't you ashamed?" My ears rang. I slapped him across the face. "You've gone too far." Then I ran back to my room, secretly wiping away tears before anyone could see. The Adrian Lawson of the future would never speak to me like that. He listened to me obediently, carried me in his arms, and treated me as though I were something priceless. He had even prepared a full property transfer agreement as a birthday gift for me. I had not signed it yet. My money. When would I be able to return to the future? Based on the novels I had read, dying might send me back. I pressed my forehead lightly against the door. I did not dare hit it hard. I was weak, afraid of pain, and pregnant. Besides, the future Adrian Lawson was probably already searching for me. Problems this complicated were better left to him. I turned the doorknob, then stopped when I saw the light on inside my room. A memory returned to me. This was the day Adrian Lawson had once taken revenge on me by filling my room with a horror movie and a ghost doll. The servants had removed everything quickly, but I still suffered nightmares and a high fever for an entire week. I was carrying his child now. I could not endure that again. The guest room was beside Adrian Lawson's room. It was never locked. That night, however, the door would not open, of course. It was part of his revenge. He had locked it so I could not escape my own bedroom. Furious, I marched to his room to demand the key. "Don't think I don't know what you've done," I said. "If you admit your mistake now, I might be merciful enough to forgive you." His room was tiny, barely large enough for a bed, a wardrobe, and a small bathroom. It had originally been designed for a live-in servant. Our family only hired hourly staff, so the room was usually empty. When Adrian Lawson first returned, I deliberately assigned him the smallest room in the house. The space was so narrow that I stood very close to him. I could smell iodine and disinfectant on his skin, probably from the injuries I had caused. He looked at me for a long moment, then shook the key ring in his hand. "You want the guest room key? Obviously. Then answer one question." His voice was low. "Who is the wild man outside?" I frowned. There was no wild man. There was only him. But no matter what I said, he would never believe it. I reached for the keys. We struggled for a few seconds, and I became so exhausted that I fell onto his bed. Adrian Lawson's face darkened. "Is it the youngest son of the Miller family? The one from the Taylor family? Or your department monitor?" I knew the first two. They were useless rich boys who followed me around. But the monitor, when did I even speak to him? I asked. Seeing my genuine confusion, Adrian Lawson's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Last week, you handed in your assignment, and he smiled at you." I stared at him. He had noticed something that insignificant. "I made it up," I said quickly. "There is no one. I only said it by accident." Then I snatched the keys and ran. Behind me, Adrian Lawson remained silent, lost in thought. Chapter 2. Stealing his pheromones. A full night's rest did not help. The gland at the back of my neck ached constantly. I had returned in my own body, which meant the lifelong mark Adrian Lawson had left on me in the future was still active. Pregnancy made an Omega's craving for a mate's pheromones even stronger. In the future, I had never worried about a shortage. Adrian Lawson stayed beside me almost every hour of the day. He had even extracted some of his pheromones into small glass vials so I could carry them around my neck. On the day before I returned to the past, I had gone to the hospital for a full examination and removed all my jewelry. When I returned home, I was so tired that I forgot to put the pheromone vial back on. Then I slept and woke up more than 10 years earlier. I sighed, touching my empty neck. During breakfast, I could think of only one thing: how to steal a little pheromone from Adrian Lawson. The family driver announced that the car was ready for school. I pointed toward Adrian Lawson, who stood nearby. "Isn't he coming with us?" The driver wiped sweat from his forehead. "Young Master Evan, you said you hated young Master Adrian and forbade us from driving him to school." I remembered. Adrian Lawson had to ride a bicycle for nearly an hour every day. We attended the same university. He studied artificial intelligence and had entered with the highest score in the entire school. I had entered because my parents donated enough money to drag me through the gates. I had even warned him never to approach me on campus. If we met by accident, he was supposed to pretend he did not know me. I took a deep breath. What was I supposed to do now? At that moment, Jamie Carter appeared. He leaned closer and asked with curiosity, "Did the lesson I taught you last time work on Adrian Lawson?" I clenched my teeth and nodded. Very well. It had worked so well that, in my previous life, I lost the entire inheritance and nearly lost my ability to sit comfortably. Still, I felt some sympathy for Jamie Carter. He had been my accomplice, and his ending had not been much better than mine. We were two fools in the same sinking boat. So I kindly warned him, "Fall in love with whoever you want, but don't let your foster father find out." Jamie Carter looked confused and gave a careless hum. I remembered that he also studied artificial intelligence. He was the cold, quiet, top student type. I lowered my voice. "Can you steal one of Adrian Lawson's pens from me?" Jamie Carter looked as though he had immediately understood my deep and sinister plan. "We have a major exam today," he said. "You want to make sure he can't take it, right?" Then he raised a hand and formed an OK sign. In truth, I only wanted a little pheromone. There was no way to explain that. After 2 professional classes, I felt as though thousands of ants were crawling beneath my skin. Sweat soaked the suppressant patch on my neck. My vision blurred, and my legs nearly gave out. Then Jamie Carter placed Adrian Lawson's fountain pen in my hand. The scent of cold cedar drifted from it, clean, sharp, touched with wood and herbs. I inhaled once. The smell faded quickly, so I reluctantly slipped the pen into my backpack. Over the next few days, Jamie Carter continued helping me. He stole a notebook, a keychain, and even a handkerchief. Although he clearly found my behavior strange, he obeyed without asking too many questions. Those objects kept me stable for several days. But Adrian Lawson soon became more cautious. He began carrying everything away from school, leaving us no opportunity. One afternoon, as I sat in the car, I realized my backpack was missing. I was still panicking when Adrian Lawson approached, holding it in one hand. He opened the zipper and poured the contents onto the seat. Every object I had stolen from him fell out. "These childish thefts are getting boring," he said with a faint smile. His eyes held undisguised contempt. "If I catch you again, I won't stop with a warning." It had been years since he had spoken so harshly to me. In that instant, I felt like a jewel that had been carried gently in someone's palm and then smashed against the ground. I dug my nails into my skin and tried not to cry. The young Adrian Lawson was hateful, and now I had no pheromones left to rely on. Chapter 3. The future you loves me. I forced myself through the night. By morning, my stomach ached and my head felt light. My parents were often abroad on business. The cook had taken the day off, and the only person in the kitchen was Adrian Lawson. His side of the table held a rich breakfast. My side was completely empty. I drank a glass of warm water and rubbed my hungry stomach. Adrian Lawson acted as though I did not exist. The longer I watched him, the angrier and more wronged I felt. Old grievances and new humiliation rose together, and my eyes filled with tears. "The future you would never treat me like this," I said. "I hate the current you." Adrian Lawson's hand paused. Countless possibilities seemed to flash through his mind before one absurd conclusion took over. "Are you saying that, in the future, I like you?" he asked slowly. "That I spoil you?" I lifted my chin and nodded. Then I caught the front of his shirt, wrapped my arms around his neck, and climbed into his embrace. "You always hold me like this in the future." While he was too shocked to react, I secretly inhaled several breaths of his pheromones. Unfortunately, he wore a powerful isolation patch, so only a faint trace of cedar escaped. Adrian Lawson instinctively placed one hand around me. For a brief moment, he seemed to enjoy the warmth, but he still did not fully trust me. He probably believed this was another elaborate trick. Once the agitation inside my body eased, I pushed him away and sat in his chair to eat his breakfast. His face stiffened. I already took a bite from that sandwich. In the past, I would have stayed 3 meters away from him and everything he touched. But our lips had met far too many times in the future. He had cured me of my excessive obsession with cleanliness long ago. I ate the entire sandwich without leaving him a single bite. "I told you," I said naturally. "We will be together in the future." Adrian Lawson pressed his lips together as though he could find no response. "Fine," he said at last. "I understand." It sounded almost like permission. From that day forward, I ordered him around more and more openly. But the one thing I wanted most, his pheromones, remained difficult to obtain. I could not touch any of his clothes. I could not even find the isolation patches he had already used. He was right in front of me, yet I could not receive the comfort my body needed. One night, I hugged a pillow and knocked on his door. "I'm sleeping with you tonight," I announced. "The light in my room is broken." He did not open the door. His voice came through the wood, low and cold. "Sleep in the guest room." I stamped my foot and sniffed, feeling unbearably wronged. The future Adrian Lawson was afraid I would refuse to sleep beside him. This one was trying to throw me out. "Fine," I shouted. "I'll tell the future you how badly you treated me." I had not even begun crying properly when the door opened. A dense wave of cedar pheromone struck me full in the face. Adrian Lawson's eyes were bloodshot. His breathing was unsteady. Several empty suppressant vials rolled across the floor behind him. His sensitive period had arrived. A terrible feeling rose inside me. My memories of helping the future Adrian Lawson through those periods were not especially peaceful. I stepped backward. I had already breathed in his pheromones. Perhaps I should leave. But the door clicked shut behind me. "Since you're here," he said, his voice rough, You won't be leaving. The suppressant patch on my neck was torn away. My omega scent spread through the room. At 20 years old, it should have smelled like young, bitter orange. Instead, it had ripened into sweet citrus, the unmistakable scent of an omega who had been thoroughly claimed. Adrian Lawson's top-tier alpha pheromones erupted violently. He was furious. I had lived inside his cedar scent for too many years to be overwhelmed. Any other low-rank omega, I'd have collapsed. His gaze fixed on the fading teeth marks around my gland. "Who marked you?" he demanded. "I'll kill him." I covered my neck. "From beginning to end, there has only been you." His eyes turned dark. He bent down and sealed my mouth with his, then pressed his sharp canine teeth over the old mark. The bite was deep enough to draw a thin ring of blood. "It hurts," I whimpered, clinging to him. "Be gentle. Why are you always like this?" I buried my face against his neck, complaining under my breath. He bit my ear lightly. "Don't act spoiled," he warned. "If I lose control, I may go further." My mind cleared instantly. There was still a baby in my stomach. "Wait, you can't do that now." I lifted my shirt, exposing the small curve of my lower belly. "I'm pregnant with your child." Adrian Lawson's hand tightened around my waist. "You said this is my child." He stared at me as if the world had overturned. Compared with believing a spoiled young master who claimed he had traveled through time, it was easier for him to believe that some man outside had used me and abandoned me, and that I was now looking for someone else to take responsibility. But to soothe me, he forced himself to speak gently. "I understand," he said. "I'll take responsibility." I curled comfortably against his chest like a small cat. I had prepared an entire explanation involving time-space distortions, meteorites, and planetary collisions. I had not expected him to surrender after only a few sentences. Later that night, however, Adrian Lawson secretly messaged his best friend, a scientific researcher. "Do you think time travel could exist?" The answer came immediately. "Did a door crush your brain?" "Of course it can't." Adrian Lawson put down his phone and looked at me sleeping in his arms. Recently, too many admirers had gathered around me, circling like flies around a beautiful piece of cake. The cedar family of alpha pheromones had many related branches. Several distant relatives of the Lawson family carried similar scents. Which one had touched me? Which bastard had played with me, left me pregnant, and disappeared? Adrian Lawson decided he would personally destroy that man. At the same time, he began to hate the child that had appeared without warning. In his mind, he had become nothing more than a substitute for the man who abandoned me. He picked up his phone again. "Help me make an appointment with the best obstetrician you can find," he wrote. "Someone experienced with terminating omega pregnancies. As soon as possible." Chapter 4. The child you wanted to remove. Several days later, Jamie Carter told me that Adrian Lawson had been beaten badly enough to end up in the university clinic. "Come with me," Jamie Carter said. "You should see how miserable he looks." My heart dropped. "Who hit him?" Jamie Carter stared as though I were pretending to be stupid. "Have you forgotten? Last month, you hired street thugs and told them to find an excuse to beat him." I had arranged so many methods of revenge in my previous life that I could no longer remember which was which. I rushed to the clinic. The doctor was treating Adrian Lawson's injuries. Beside him stood another alpha named Henry Hayes, a scientific researcher and Adrian Lawson's closest friend. Henry Hayes had never liked me. He always believed I was unworthy of Adrian Lawson. At that moment, he was trying earnestly to persuade him. "You're the real heir," Henry Hayes said. "Evan Lawson is the fake one. What exactly do you like about him?" I stopped outside the door, stunned. Did Adrian Lawson already like me at this point in time? I had always assumed he only fell in love with me much later. After years of living together, Adrian Lawson slowly stood. His voice was deep and steady. "I love him for exactly who he is." He paused, then continued with brutal honesty. "I know he's foolish, gullible, and empty-headed, but I love him. I know his ambitions are shallow and his ideals ordinary, but I love him. I know he's second-rate in nearly every way, but I still love him." The room fell silent. I finally broke it by peeking through the doorway. "Are you all right?" I did not dare approach. Henry Hayes gave a cold laugh. "Stop pretending. Isn't he injured because of you?" "Enough," Adrian Lawson said. "What happens between him and me is none of an outsider's business." Then he held out a hand to me and made space on the hospital bed. His back was wrapped in bandages, and a small amount of blood had seeped through. When he saw the distress on my face, he pulled his coat over the injury. I made a face at Henry Hayes, who told him to speak badly about me behind my back. Before leaving, Henry Hayes said casually, "The doctor you asked me to find for the Omega pregnancy has been arranged. The earliest surgery is next Monday." Then he hurried out. His words were like a stone dropped into a machine. Everything inside my head stopped. A pregnancy termination. Adrian Lawson wanted to remove our child. "You heartless bastard," I shouted. I slapped him and ran away. What had the baby and I done wrong? The future Adrian Lawson had desperately looked forward to this child's birth. Our pheromone compatibility was low, and I was a low-rank Omega. The probability of pregnancy had always been extremely small. Although he initially believed a child was unnecessary to our life together, I wanted someone who shared our blood. Eventually, he gave in. The baby came as promised. It was an SSS rank child and required enormous amounts of pheromones from both parents. My body was too weak to provide enough nutrition. Several times, I nearly miscarried. To protect the pregnancy, I needed injections every few days. My stomach was covered in blue and purple needle marks. I was delicate and terrified of pain. Every pill and injection required Adrian Lawson to sit beside me and coax me patiently. Yet now, the younger version of him wanted to discard the child we had fought so hard to keep. The more I remembered, the more miserable I became. Jamie Carter poured me a glass of warm milk. "Stay at my house for a while," he said. "I'll sleep beside you tonight." I looked at him with tears in my eyes. "What about your foster father? He's a grown man. Does he need someone to sleep beside him? Besides, we're arguing." So that was it. We truly were too unfortunate to Omega's suffering from the same illness. When my phone finally charged, notifications flooded the screen. 99 unread messages. Dozens of missed calls. Every one of them came from Adrian Lawson. The final message said he was waiting downstairs and wanted to apologize. It had been sent 2 hours earlier. He had been standing there for more than 2 hours. I rushed to the window. Under the dim yellow streetlight, he stood in a camel-colored wool coat. He was normally proud, unyielding, and always in control. Now he looked strangely lonely, like a man who knew he had made a terrible mistake. A thin layer of snow clung to his hair. My heart softened at once. I ran to the elevator without even putting on a coat. I did not feel the cold. I only wanted to drag that idiot inside before he froze into a statue. "Are you stupid?" I shouted when I reached him. "Are you trying to freeze to death and make me a widow?" From the moment I appeared, his eyes remained fixed on me. Then he frowned, removed his own coat, and wrapped it around my shoulders. "I've thought about this for a long time," he said. "I never imagined having a child, and I never expected to look forward to one. But there is one thing I know." He took a breath. "The baby is yours. I love everything that belongs to you, so I will accept this child." I stared at him. He continued, entirely serious. "Afterward, I'll have a vasectomy. We only need this one child." My mind went blank. If he did that now, how would we create this child in the future? The baby inside me moved, as if asking, "Father, are you planning to erase me from history?" I hurriedly stopped his plan to end the Lawson bloodline. Then I rose onto my toes and wrapped my arms around him. The faint scent of tobacco and cedar surrounded me. His pheromones were stronger, wilder, and more oppressive than those of the man 10 years in the future. It seemed the change in his pheromone level had begun after we created our child. A trace of unease entered my heart. Adrian Lawson was always like this. He hid important things from me and refused to explain. Chapter 5. Entering the Lou Corporation. I slept deeply in Adrian Lawson's arms that night. When I opened my eyes, my parents, who had just returned from a business trip, were standing in the doorway. "I watched a horror movie last night and became frightened," I stammered. So I asked him to sleep beside me. I had planned to confess our relationship honestly, but when the words reached my mouth, they changed direction. Adrian Lawson had only just awakened. He gave a quiet sound of agreement. Mrs. Lawson laughed brightly. "You two brothers have finally become close." Then she explained the true reason for their return. My parents intended to retire gradually and place both Adrian Lawson and me inside the family company for training. That decision had been the spark that ignited our inheritance war in my previous life. Back then, I believed Adrian Lawson wanted to seize control of the company, take the entire fortune, and leave me without a single coin. So I opposed him in everything. My plans were always elaborate. Unfortunately, I forgot one important detail. I knew absolutely nothing about managing a company. The most destructive thing I ever accomplished was watering the lucky bamboo on his desk with boiling water. I also switched the documents he had already reviewed with my own unfinished files. Adrian Lawson rarely bothered arguing over such childish behavior. Only one incident truly changed everything. I had wanted to humiliate him at a banquet, so I bribed a waiter to put something into his drink. Instead of trapping him, I fell into my own scheme and delivered myself directly into his bed. After that, I became the canary he kept hidden from the world. Our parents eventually caught us together, and I was forced to admit the truth. Remembering all of this, I made a wise decision. This time, I would do nothing. A few days later, I entered the Lawson Corporation and chose the easiest position available: Adrian Lawson's personal secretary. The moment I arrived, the secretarial department erupted in whispers. "Young Master Evan, did President Lawson deliberately assign you such exhausting work? Don't worry, we office workers may suffer, but our spirits remain unbroken. We'll help you." President Lawson looks like the kind of top-tier alpha who could father 10 children without blinking. Young Master Evan, on the other hand, looks like a soft little cake. I blinked innocently. I had no intention of damaging their impression of Adrian Lawson. But sometimes, all one needed to create misunderstanding was a face and a mouth. Adrian Lawson disliked the way the other secretaries gathered around me. He quickly invented an excuse to move my desk beside his office. I was pleased. I spent my days watching dramas, eating snacks, and browsing the company's anonymous discussion forum. One post claimed that Adrian Lawson and I were enemies. Last time young Master Evan left the president's office with red eyes. He must have been scolded until he cried. President Lawson is too cruel. I rubbed my eyes. I had probably been crying because of a television drama. Then I found another reply. Am I the only one who thinks the two brothers would make a perfect couple? Someone answered immediately. People like you will shit anything. One day it will kill you. I ignored the warning. I had a balanced diet because I consumed everything. A secret link appeared beneath the discussion. A 100,000-word fanfiction written by company employees. I clicked it. I even ignored the browser's dangerous site warning. By the time I finished reading, my understanding of the world had been destroyed and rebuilt. Surely Adrian Lawson would never do those things in an office. You seem disappointed. A cold voice came from behind me. My hand moved toward the close button, but I was several seconds too slow. With Adrian Lawson's memory, he had probably memorized every word on the screen. Before I could defend myself, he pulled me into the private lounge connected to his office. The door closed, cutting us off from the outside world. I suddenly became nervous. You still have 2 meetings this afternoon. Adrian Lawson loosened his tie. Move them to tomorrow. Then he leaned closer. Should we begin with the chapter titled Secret Office Love? I nodded without thinking. I did not remember the details of the story. I merely assumed an office setting could not become too unreasonable. I was completely wrong. The younger Adrian Lawson was like an untamed mad dog. He bit wherever he wanted, kissed without restraint, and refused to stop until I grabbed his hair. In the end, I could no longer endure it and slapped him. Adrian Lawson calmly straightened his suit. He once again looked like a refined, dangerous gentleman. Only the faint moisture at the corner of his mouth and the red handprint on his cheek betrayed what had happened. He ran his tongue over his lower lip as though savoring the moment. When I struck him, the sweet scent of bitter orange reached him before the pain did. The instant my pheromones filled his senses, the heat on his face stopped feeling like pain at all. I understood the dark, unreadable expression in his eyes. I wanted to slap him again. Unfortunately, my legs were weak and my clothes were hopelessly wrinkled. No matter how I adjusted them, I could no longer hide my growing stomach. When are you going to tell our parents about us? I asked. Adrian Lawson stopped walking. His expression became strange. I thought you wanted to hide me, he said, sounding unexpectedly aggrieved. I assumed you planned to keep me as a secret lover who could never see daylight. He sounded like a jealous husband. It was not that I did not want to tell them. Every time I try, however, the words burned my tongue and disappeared. In my previous life, our relationship had been discovered by force, but my parents had not punished us too harshly. Afterward, Adrian Lawson even took me abroad for a week. The consequences should not be serious this time either, or so I believed. Chapter 6. Caught. A few nights later, I slipped into Adrian Lawson's room again. This time, my parents caught us directly. Their faces were terrifying. Mr. Lawson held a baseball bat as though he intended to break it over Adrian Lawson's skull. "Adrian Lawson," he roared. "You animal, what are you doing?" The shout seemed to shake the ceiling. Why was this completely different from what I remembered? My heart pounded violently. Adrian Lawson kissed my forehead. "Don't be afraid," he whispered. "Wait here, I'll return soon." He followed my parents outside and closed the bedroom door behind him, blocking every sound. I hugged to pillows tightly and tried to breathe through the faint cedar scent left in the room. Cold passed through my body in waves. I closed my eyes and repeated the same thought. He would come back soon. The entire afternoon passed before the door opened again. Light fell across my face. My eyes were swollen, almost shut. I had not been crying. My nose was only slightly sore. Adrian Lawson entered with unsteady steps, clearly suppressing severe pain. "Good boy," he said softly. "Why are you crying?" Our parents agreed to let us stay together. He wiped the corner of my eye with his thumb. His skin was rough enough to sting. I was not only upset because of what had happened that day. At last, I understood why he had once sent me abroad alone for a week. When I returned, he met me at the airport. Beneath his coat, he wore a blue and white striped shirt. At the time, I thought his taste had become strange as he grew older. Now I realized it had been a hospital gown. "Take off your shirt," I said. "I'll apply medicine." Adrian Lawson held his collar closed. "It's a small injury. We should sleep separately tonight." I turned my back and refused to speak. This was one of my most reliable methods. Adrian Lawson could tolerate me hitting him, scolding him, or biting him. He could never tolerate me ignoring him. Before long, he surrendered. "Fine, I'll remove it, but you're not allowed to cry." I sniffed and forced my sadness down. I prepared antiseptic and medicine for bruising. When he removed the shirt, I saw dark blue and purple bruises covering his back. Several wounds along his spine were split open and still bleeding. A small sob escaped me. The Adrian Lawson of the future had secretly spent an entire week in the hospital. His injuries must have been even worse. Why had he never told me? As I cleaned his wounds, I kissed carefully along his back. "Kisses make the pain disappear," I whispered. Adrian Lawson pinched my cheek and pressed his forehead against mine. "You don't need to pity me," he said. "I seduced you. I pulled you into a relationship where family affection became something else." His gaze did not waver. "From the first moment I saw you, I felt that you should belong to me. I wanted to occupy your sight. I wanted your eyes to hold only me and no one else." He kissed my fingertips. "I should be the one begging for forgiveness. Are you afraid of me now?" My heart trembled. Fear, panic, despair, none of those feelings appeared. Instead, I finally found a perfect excuse for my arrogance and unreasonable temper. It was all Adrian Lawson's fault. He had spoiled me beyond repair. I poked his chest. "I forgive you." Chapter 7. Two husbands. Several months passed, and the time for childbirth approached. I held the latest medical report and felt increasingly confused. Before I traveled to the past, every examination showed dangerous results. The obstetric specialist had warned us that the baby was extremely likely to miscarry or be born prematurely. Now, however, every measurement had returned to normal. The baby was healthy, active, and waiting peacefully for the full term. In the future, I had required injections every 1 or 2 weeks, along with countless supplements and medications. During the months I spent in the past, I needed only ordinary vitamins and folic acid. Could a body truly recover so quickly? I completed the hospital admission process and entered a private VIP room. Adrian Lawson no longer had any interest in company work. He pushed every responsibility back onto Mr. Lawson, who had only recently retired, and stayed beside me while we waited for the birth. He peeled a pear, and I ate it. Then he entered the bathroom. I remained focused on my drama, already planning to order him to shell walnuts from me when he returned. A hand appeared in front of me holding a pile of walnut kernels. "Eat." The voice was deeper than before. The man's clothes were also more restrained and expensive. Nothing like the casual shirt Adrian Lawson had been wearing moments earlier. Could a short trip to the bathroom transform someone completely? I looked up. The man in front of me was Adrian Lawson from more than 10 years in the future. My husband. My heart leapt. Had I finally returned? Before I could speak, he seemed to read my thoughts. He rubbed my hair. "Not yet," he said. "You haven't returned." At that moment, another Adrian Lawson hurried into the room. The younger one looked at me and asked, Good boy. Who are you talking to? I stared from one man to the other. One was older, calmer, and dressed in luxury. The other was younger, sharper, and visibly furious. Why are there two Adrian Lawsons? I whispered. My brain can't keep up. The older Adrian Lawson stepped forward. Massage my temples, he said. Do you prefer the younger version of me? The moment he appeared, you stopped looking at me. I shook my head quickly and threw myself into his arms. The younger Adrian Lawson's face turned green. Don't think you can steal my lover simply because you're my future self. The two alphas stared at each other. The room instantly filled with invisible gunpowder. When it seemed they might begin fighting, I stood abruptly. If either of you throws a punch, I'll jump out the window. Both men panicked. One caught my waist. The other grabbed my legs. They apologized immediately and begged me not to do anything reckless. I cleared my throat and slapped each of them once. 2 equal strikes. Mad dogs only became useful after being placed on a leash. Husband, I asked the older one, how did you travel here? And why did I travel here? The younger Adrian Lawson became jealous at once. Which husband are you asking? Both men pretended not to understand. To distinguish them, I began calling the older one Big Husband and the younger one Little Husband. Eventually, Big Husband explained everything in detail. The principles of time travel were apparently not complicated. I understood none of them. The important part was that, in the future, researchers had created a device capable of returning to a single point in the past. There was also something Adrian Lawson had hidden from me. To make pregnancy possible despite our low compatibility, he had deliberately introduced impurities into his SSS rank gland, lowering himself to a rank so his pheromones could combine with mine. After the pregnancy began, our SSS rank baby demanded enormous amounts of pheromones from both parents. Even surgery could not restore Adrian Lawson to his original rank. To protect the child and to hide the truth from me, he had only one option. He traveled back in time and borrowed the SSS rank pheromones of his younger self to stabilize his pregnant wife. So that was the truth. Tears filled my eyes. I'm sorry, husband. You sacrificed too much for me. I wrapped my arms around Big Husband's neck and rubbed my face against him. Little Husband stamped his foot in anger. I'm the one raising your child right now. Aren't you being excessive? Big Husband gave him a calm glance. It is also your child. The two of them dislike each other intensely. Merely communicating with them exhausted me. Little Husband refused to stop causing trouble. Henry Hayes told me that time travel was impossible, he said. Big Husband continued reviewing documents. His smile was cold enough to make a person fear for his life. Every human being has hidden potential, he replied. Apply enough pressure, and the impossible becomes possible. Little Husband looked suddenly enlightened. I silently lit a candle in my heart for the unfortunate scientist. When I returned to my original timeline, I would never again complain about Henry Hayes's bad temper. He had clearly suffered enough. A little later, Big Husband looked up from his documents. I heard your relationship was discovered by our parents, he said to his younger self. You behaved like an inexperienced child, made my precious wife frightened and anxious, and nearly got yourself beaten to death. Completely useless. I quickly stepped in front of Little Husband before the two of them began fighting. He's still young, I said. It's normal for him to be inexperienced. We should forgive him. Little Husband smiled triumphantly. At least I'm not an old man who collapsed alone in a hospital bed and still pretended everything was fine. Their eyes met. The pressure in the room could have killed 10,000 people. I gave up trying to mediate. Not long afterward, one of them sat with a facial mask covering his face. The other developed dark circles like a panda. That was the result of two versions of the same workaholic, competing to prove who could care for me better. Chapter 8. The child we waited 10 years to meet. At last, the day of delivery arrived. Only one person was allowed to accompany me into the operating room. I refused to choose. If I selected Big Husband, Little Husband would become furious. If I selected Little Husband, Big Husband would drink enough vinegar to fill an ocean. So I entered alone. Everything went more smoothly than I had imagined. When I opened my eyes again, the baby was sleeping peacefully beside me. I touched the child's tiny hand. My shoulders trembled with emotion. 10 years of waiting. 10 years of fear, uncertainty, and repeated loss. The pressure had been almost impossible to endure. Now that the child was finally safe, it felt as though a mountain had been lifted from my body. I picked up the baby carefully and held the child toward Little Husband. You should hold the baby too. He panicked so badly that he did not know where to place his hands. His posture was awkward, and his voice became hoarse. I never believed you would love me, he said, even after I began wanting to stay beside you. I never imagined a child would appear between us. He looked down at the baby and slowly smiled, releasing something he had carried for years. Then he raised his eyes to me. Evan, go with him, he said. Return to the timeline that belongs to the two of you. My chest tightened. I stood and wrapped my arms around him with all the strength I had left. I'm sorry, I whispered, but please don't forget me. Little husband held me for a long time. I won't, he said. The room dissolved into white light. Chapter 9. He never forgot. After returning to my original timeline, I remained unhappy for many days. Adrian Lawson planned trips, bought gifts, and stayed beside me constantly, but nothing could remove the emptiness inside my heart. I could not explain it clearly. I simply missed the younger version of him, the man who had loved me fiercely before he understood how to show it. One evening, my husband finally lost patience. You like the younger me that much? He asked. Do you think I'm old now? His voice was filled with jealousy. I stared at him. Then an impossible thought appeared. Is there any chance, I asked slowly, that you remember everything? Adrian Lawson became silent. The past version and the present version were never truly separate people. From beginning to end, there had only ever been one Adrian Lawson. He had not forgotten me. Not for a single day. My eyes widened as I finally understood. Husband, I said, throwing myself into his arms, I love you so much. Adrian Lawson kissed the corner of my mouth. Then he removed a familiar document from a drawer. It was the property transfer agreement I had failed to sign before traveling through time. He placed a pen in my hand. Good boy, he said. Sign it. Naturally, I signed immediately. After all, love was important. But so was my money. Outro. You have been listening to a fictional BL story on BL Storytime. All characters and events in this story are fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to BL Storytime and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next story.